Hello everyone, hope you're doing well and welcome to another video of HTML and CSS complete course. So in this video we're going to talk about the counters in CSS. So before jumping over to the main point, if you didn't subscribe my YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe this channel and hit the bell icon so you get the notification of my new video when I upload them. Right, so let's get started. So counter is used for adding numbers to the section of your web page. For adding numbers we already have another method which is the order list. But it's not necessary. By using the order list, we cannot add any style to that list because when we add some changes, add any style to the order list, and our UL element will automatically take that style. So that's why it's not necessary to use the order list for adding section to the web page. For this, we need to use the counter section in using CSS. So the counter also have three main points, which is counter reset, counter function, and counter increment. So counter is like a variable. So when we want to create a variable, first we need to mention the name for our variable. So for this, inside the body element, I'm going to mention create the name for my counter variable. So for this, for creating the variable name, we need to use the counter reset attribute. So counter, here we go, here it is, counter reset, and here we need to mention the name for our variable. So I'm going to use my counter, and make sure do not add any space between these letters, and after that you can mention the number where you want to start, the counter should start from. I'm going to mention the 0 because that it will print next number of 0, which is 1. So the next of a 0 is 1, and that's it inside the body. And here I'm going to mention the h1 element. So I'm going to target the h1 element. So h1, and I'm going to use before. So before text of the h1 element, here you need to display the counter. So the counter is going to display inside the content. So first, inside double quotation, I'm going to name my counter, my section. So I'm going to name this chapter, and let's add some space. And here I'm going to add counter, and let's add opening and closing brackets. And here I'm going to I want to display the counter so it will ask me which counter you want to display. So I'm going to mention this counter, the variable that I have created, my counter. So I want to display this counter, and here I want to add this column between the text and the counter, and that's it. And after, so when I save this, here you can see this is the chapter. You can see live demo of this counter chapter 0, because I didn't add any increment attribute, so that's why it's showing me the 0. And now I'm going to increment this. So let's use the counter increment by 1. So I'm going to tell the browser that increment the counter just 1 by 1, or 1 number. So I'm going to save this, or let's cut this from here and let's add it here at the top section. And when we save this, oh, excuse me, I didn't mention the name. So it's going to ask me which counter you want to increment by 1. So I'm going to add the counter name. So my counter. Let's save this, and here we go. Here you can see. So the first number is 1, 2. It starts from 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when I add another number instead of 0, so when I add 5, so it will start from the next number of 5, which is 6. So when I save this, here you can see it starts from 6. When I add 15, So it will start from the next number of 15, which is 16. So when I save this, here we go, chapter 16. And also you can increment by 1. Here you can see it will tell the browser that how much number you need to increment by. So first let's save this. As you can see, it's 1, 2, 3. So if I increment this by 5 numbers, so when I save this, as you can see, it increments 5 numbers. So 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So when I tell that increment by 3 numbers, so it will increment 3 digits. So 3 numbers, 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. And you can not only use the numbers, you can use the Roman numbers or alphabetical letters you prefer. So inside, when you want to display the counter, and the counter inside the name of your counter, add a column, and here you can add the upper dash alpha. It will display the, as you can see, upper alphabetical letters here. So if you say lower and save this, lower alphabetical letters, and if you tell that Roman, let's save this. Here you can see lower Roman letters, and also you can add the upper for this as well. Here we go. You can also add the numbers to the section of the chapters, which is called the nested counter. So for this, we are going to just comment this for now. Let's comment this, and let's remove this from comment. Here we go. So now let's save this, and this is, as you can see, these are the section of the chapters. As you can see, the first, second, third. So we are going to, so now we are going to add the changes inside this. So here we go. I have added some changes into these sections. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add counter into these parts of the chapters as well. So that one will be the 1 of 1 or 1 of 2 or 1 of 3, like this. So for this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a counter, or I'm going to use the counter for a new counter, which will be the sub counter, by using the counter reset attribute inside the h1 element. So here I'm going to use counter. This counter will be sub counter. So I'm not going to mention any number because the default number is 1. So it will start automatically from 1. And after this, I'm going to create at the right bottom side. Here I'm going to use the h2 before. Here we go. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a content, and here I'm going to, or let's add dot, and after this I'm going to mention the first counter. So this one will be the my counter, and we can add this from here. Let's remove this from here, this section, and after this you can mention the sub counter here, here we go. And now let's increment the counter. Which counter? So now let's increment the sub counter. So sub counter, it will increment by 1 number. And let's save this, and here we go. As you can see, the chapter 1 part 1, chapter 2 part 2, chapter 3 part 3, and chapter 2 part 1. It will automatically restart the number when it sub counter reach to the heading 1, automatically reset this sub count. So it will automatically reset from 3 and start it from the beginning of the counter. So that's it. Hope you understand. And if you learned something from this video, please leave the comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for latest videos when I upload them.